can give us. Jump into the Specs chat. We do appreciate all of your active commentary as we go through the show. Also, leave your comments on the page after the show is done being recorded live. Mr. Hastings, welcome. We've got college football on a Thursday to discuss. The show goes on. Companies are buying other companies, and Orange Blood's picking up, moving, and doing things, but Orange Blood's live and House Divided, just chugga.
Yeah. In fact, today we thought we would show our love and compassion, and maybe that's not the right phrase.
It's like an unofficial hug.
Exactly. We would show our brotherhood, if you will, and give a hug to one of the best in the business that does work for On3, and he's going to give us something going to give us a platform to discuss, because it's somebody catch that believes Texas is not just going to be good this year. They're going to be all the way to the top kind of good.
So let me lay this out. I think it was on Tuesday. If I have my days you'll have to forgive me. The week has been a blur.
Yeah.
I think it was on Tuesday, Andy Staples, formerly of SI, now of On3, longtime friend of Orange Bloods Live, Orange Bloods, we all go way back. He put out a post-spring football top 25. Texas is number one on the list. And I thought on Tuesday, it's too damn bad that Andy Staples works for On3, because that is a topic perfectly created for us to discuss on House Divided. What's more House Divided than a post-spring top 25 on the 1st of May? Let's get it on, right? But I was like, but it's On3. I can't do that. We're all rivals and On3 and separation for clarification. But then yesterday, in the middle of the show, it was announced that On3 was buying Rivals, at which point On3 was buying the contracts of all of the people that Rivals does business with. Guess who that is? That's us.
Oh, it's us. So now you're saying Andy Staples is now us? In a way?
Us and them is us and we is them.
Us and them, we is they, and this is now this. What's up, Andy Staples?
Andy Staples
is up.
Partner with orangebloods.com. On3's orangebloods.com, as fate would have it. So Andy Staples, one of the best in college football, came out with his post-spring top 25. And Onwar. Chad, you can look at the list, and there's a lot to unpack.
No doubt.
Including Texas goes on the road at 5, 8, and 10.
It's the first thing I noticed, Catch. Yeah. That, in fact, it's funny you went right there too. I started thinking about road games for teams we really deal with. Obviously, that's where you start with Texas. Yeah, they're at 5, they're at 8, they're at 10. On the Aggie side of things, they're at number 2 this year.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, and then also, Catch, let's go down, start with Texas Tech, and as we go down looking for SEC teams, South Carolina, Texas does not play them. A&M hosts them. Auburn, Texas does not play them. A&M hosts them. LSU, Texas does not play them. The Aggies go to Death Valley. Then go down to Ole Miss. Texas does not play them. A&M does not play them. Tennessee is at 21. Texas does not play them. A&M does not play them. So Texas gets a lot of smoke at the top, like you talked about. But yeah, that was the first thing that jumped out to me too. The road test for Texas, both cocktail party teams and obviously the horseshoe.
So there's a lot of discussions to have about all of this. I do think you and I notice the same things though. Texas on the road 5, 8, and 10, but then doesn't play anybody else 11 through 25. So when you hear people say the home schedule kind of sucks this year. Yes, it does. I guess we can circle back to 5, 8, and 10.
Mm-hmm.
We got to start with number 1, which is the Texas Longhorns. And I don't think it's a controversial take to have Texas ranked number 1. Actually, if Andy Staples wanted to be controversial, I think putting Notre Dame at number 1, considering they're number 2, I would have done a holy crap. Andy Staples is out on a limb.
Yeah.
But,
or if you wanted to, and I'll flash it back up here, if you wanted to take Ohio State and try to make an argument at 1, or Clemson at 1, I think that's more controversial than going with Texas.
No doubt. In fact, Texas may be the least controversial number 1 team, preseason number 1 this year.
Yeah, actually, maybe the most controversy you could create, Catch, is if you try to convince me Drew Aller is going to go from that number 4 pre-ranking to the national title.
Well,
look, that's a limb.
I would say Ohio State at 5, behind Penn State, because I'll be honest, Ohio State can play me at quarterback, and I would rather have me with Ohio State than Penn State with Drew Aller.
I absolutely would trust you. I would trust you and those Buckeyes more. You're correct.
Plus,
And
I don't have James Franklin as my coach.
That's fair.
So,
that is totally fair.
I know that in a big game, I don't have to necessarily count on my coach doing something completely batshit crazy. But let's talk about Texas at number 1, because I think during the spring, I was not thinking of them as a number 1 team in the country. I was thinking of them as a 1 through 10 team in the country. Somewhere on that list they belong, Chad. Where? I'm not sure, but I think they've got questions here and here and here and here and here and here and here. But before the end of the spring, Texas has effectively been able to answer a little bit of the wide receiver question, a little bit of the tight end question, some of the defensive tackle question. They've answered their kicking game question. They have addressed some of the areas where I think that there are some concerns. I think we're looking at a list of teams that all have concerns. And I think the one thing that it's like, I get all of the teams that are in the top 10, especially like if we go top 8.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm not that Illinois number 9 did surprise me a little bit.
Well, and look, once you get to Illinois, everything after that, like, I think I'd probably put South Carolina at 9.
Yeah,
ahead of every other team on that list.
I agree.
And I don't know that I would even begin to know how to rank the rest of those teams.
Yeah, I don't know how to compute Illinois, SMU, teams like that.
I think my top 10 would have the 8, South Carolina, Florida. I think he's got 10 right. And then I would take 11 through 25, and you could put them in any order, and I do an Elmo shoulder shrug and go, okay. The thing is, I think we're looking at the moral of this story for me is that we're looking at a wide open college football this year. I think anybody 1 through 8, you wouldn't shock me completely. Penn State would kind of shock me, but on paper, I get why they're ranked in the top 4, top 8. But I just see a bunch of flawed teams. All of them have question marks. Texas has question marks, but you know what they don't have? They don't really have a quarterback question mark, but 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, they all do.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, Catch, go back to number 5 there with Ohio State. Here's another one about where games are played. Ohio State will host number 1 and 4. That I just double checked. The Penn State game is at home for Ohio State. So they will host 1 and 4.
Good luck. I mean, not really. I don't want them, No,
right. But
if
in
I'm
terms
not mistaken, they have Oregon on their schedule too, don't they?
Let me double check that.
They played them last year.
They do not. They do not have Oregon. I am looking at Ohio State's schedule right now. They play at Washington. They play UCLA in terms of the West Coast teams. And that is the 2. They do not have Oregon.
So who else on this schedule do they play?
So obviously you're starting with Texas, Grambling, Ohio. Those are the non-con. At Washington, they play Minnesota. They're at Illinois. So Illinois being top 10, interesting there. They go to Champaign. They go to Wisconsin. That's back-to-back weeks, actually. Host Penn State, at Purdue, and then UCLA, Rutgers. And the game is at the Big House this year with Michigan.
So they host 1 and 4, and they travel to 9 and 17. Okay, no cakewalk.
Yep, no, that's true. That's true. And then also, as we look at this, number 8, Georgia, They will go to Tennessee. They don't have that Clemson game this year. So they go to Tennessee. So at number 21, they will, and then the team right next to them, Bama, Georgia, they do play that game again. And Georgia, I believe, hosts Bama, if I'm not mistaken, early in the season. So Georgia gets to host 7-1 because we know Texas goes to Georgia. So it's just, there's a lot of great little combinations with the biggest of big dogs and who they get to. So Ohio State and Georgia get two huge home games to prove themselves. And obviously each of them get a crack at Texas.
All right. So take that down. We've got a few super chats. So we'll knock them out real quick. And then I have a question for you.
All righty.
Super chat number 1 from S. Roan, $5. A Manning going back to Gainesville will be fun.
Oh, no doubt. S. Roan, I'll keep saying it, especially if he wins at Ohio State. I'm just going to continue to leave that there because I don't know if anybody's going to be able to deal with September if Texas beats Ohio State. Just saying.
By the way, S. Roan jumps in with the I blame Quinn for these rankings. He started World War I.
You know, I thought Quinn busting into those peace talks with that flat face of his, I really did think that was the turning point. S. Roan's good call.
You can't send Quinn to Europe and expect good things to happen.
You can't do it. You can't do it.
I don't know if S. Roan's part of the bit now or if he's problematic of the bit that I don't know. Like, I'm a little confused, but I'm not confused by Oscar's $4.99 super chat. Aggies are like my golf scorecard, always exciting at the start, but constantly disappointing. I also waste a lot of money on it, like Aggie donors.
Oh, God, Oscar. Come on, man. Come on. It is, there is a bit of a pattern that is formed with the Aggies. That's
I sipped my tea just then.
You sipped the tea. You were definitely doing some sipping. And Catch, that is one of the other things as we look at that top 25. I don't have to put it back up to make this point because neither of these teams I'm going to mention are on the top 25. Oklahoma nowhere to be found. A&M nowhere to be found. By
kind of shocking, actually. I'm on autopilot expecting that they'll just be somewhere on the list.
Yeah, back, and then by extension, Arkansas also not.
The same way that Texas was coming off of 5 and 7, I would still expect them to be like 20th.
Yeah, but this shows you, Catch, there's a trust thing going on, I think, there with Staples and the Aggies, and I don't know that it's unfair. I don't know that that's unfair because of that pattern that Oscar's throwing out. It's a team you'll talk about as you lead in August. Maybe they give you a little spark in September, but oh my God, Catch, it's like they almost feel like, remember those Romo era Cowboys where when December rolled around, you and I just grabbed every warm blanket we could and just huddled for warmth and prayed? Like December and January, they would just crater. When the Aggies get to November, it's just, it's gone completely, it's gone south for them. And Andy Staples doesn't trust him right now. And I'm not going to get on a soapbox and tell him he needs to trust that team because I don't know if he does.
You know what problem with I think the problem with the Aggies are?
Boy, that's a loaded start to a question.
It is. And it's like,
tell
us the
to lead that way. Yeah.
I think a problem. And I will associate this. Let's start with the Cowboys. Where the Cowboys lose me is, and Cowboy fans do this. It's like, gonna win the Super Bowl this year. And it's like, are we doing that? Is that what we're doing? We're doing the Cowboys in the Super Bowl? If the Cowboys said, you know what our mission is this year? Number one, God damn it, we're going to win a divisional game. We're getting to the NFC Championship game. That's our goal. And we have to get to that because we haven't done it in 30 years. So before we talk about the Super Bowl, we got to win one of these pesky divisional games. We got to get our ass in that NFC Championship game. And before we can do anything else, we have to get in that. What bothers me about Aggies, and I think the Aggies' problem is, they're so focused on we're going to win a national championship. They're so focused on we got to do what Alabama did. We got to do what Georgia's doing. That's who we want to be. A&M skips the part of the process where they've got to do what Texas has done, which is, first of all, you just got to get good and don't put a label on it. To the naked eyeball, can you just go play other really good teams and not embarrass yourself? We know that the jury was out on Texas 2 years ago. Now, Texas didn't really win anything. They won the last Big 12 championship. Okay. They didn't win an SEC championship this year. But everybody acknowledges there's nobody that Texas does not embarrass themselves anymore. Texas is a real football program. So now we're at a point where Texas can realistically talk about a national championship, and it doesn't feel like the Cowboys talking about the Super Bowl, because the Longhorns have done now a couple of things in a row. But you know what? The Longhorns were in this for a long time. What do we get mad at Charlie Strong about? Charlie had the audacity in 2014 to say, we're probably not winning a national championship this year. Do you know what Texas fans did in response to that? They clutched their pearls and they said, Charlie, how dare you? How dare you say we're not going to win a national championship? And I remember Onwa and I both were like,
yeah, even though he was right.
No, is this controversial?
Right. Even though he was right, it is something that I would have phrased it differently than he did and that kind of stuff. But you're right, Ken.
Because in the end, he was just being honest.
Right. But the issue becomes to those Cowboy teams, Texas teams in the past, and now where the Aggies are. I agree with you. It's the process they're missing. It's the Nick Saban stuff. When Saban says you got to figure out the process of where you want to go, don't worry about the outcome and all that. I used to gripe at both sides of House Divided when they would be bitching about losing to a rival. And I would say, no. You got to get to the point where you're just losing to the rival. Like Texas fans would get upset about losing to Oklahoma. I'm like, no, it's the other four you should worry about. That's what should piss you off.
Losing to Iowa State first.
Right. For A&M, it was that. Like, I remember Aggies getting on. Well, it's like, well, you know, those years we like jumped up and beat Texas. It's like, right. But that was at the end of a year where you disappointingly lost to that team, and that team. So there were steps that needed to be taken, and they were missing the point. I agree with you. And in this tough SEC world, I mean, it's just about that next thing. The next thing an Aggie needs to be thinking about is, can you go to South Bend and can you make it a ball game? Can you not embarrass yourself? Can you get people talking again in September? And then you move on to the other stuff. But that's the next thing I'd have on my mind.
Here's what I would tell Aggie fans. You guys need to get obsessed in the short term making the playoff. None of this stuff can happen unless you're good enough to get into the playoff.
That's fair. Do what Tennessee did.
And put yourself into a position then where you're taking steps. Now, Texas elevated steps fast. They went to the semifinals 2 years ago, but that wasn't the playoffs. That was a system where four teams get rewarded. They got rewarded, then they lost, but they were in a real playoff last year when they got to the semifinal. It feels like Texas has taken steps. And so now there's another step for Texas to take, and that conversation is rightful, and I think it's on schedule. The thing that A&M does is, like, they don't need to worry about Georgia or Texas or Alabama. Like, what they need to worry about is, we got to get in. We have to become a playoff team. And then the moment that you've done that, like Tennessee, you can talk about your program and the next step after that realistically. Where I kind of roll my eyes at Aggie fans is they talk about national championships and stuff the same way Texas fans did, where it was like, what are you guys doing? You're not good yet. We don't even know if Marcel Reed can play, really. Do we really know what he is as a quarterback? Are you really ready to compete for a national championship? There's just steps. And when people skip the steps and assume that, well, we're just going to be with the cool kids at the end in the big discussion, it's like, well, no, you're not. You're not. But I'll be honest, as a Texas supporter, I would, as a Texas supporter, be nervous about an A&M program and fan base that could be singularly focused and obsessed with the next most obtainable thing. They're not far away from being playoff good.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah, look at last year. Even with everything that happened, somehow they went into that last game of the regular season with a chance to play in Atlanta.
They had a perfect chance.
Yeah, and Catch, I keep bringing up this schedule thing. It works for everyone in the SEC. None of them know what that schedule is going to be in 2026. The Aggies have a chance, just like Texas does. The Aggie schedule is a little tougher in this regard, but Texas has to take advantage of 2025 before things change, but so do the Aggies. They don't play Bama. They don't play Georgia. They don't play Ole Miss. They are at LSU. They are at Missouri this year, and they play 4 of the best teams from last year. That is all true. But Catch, no Bulldogs, no Tide, no Rebels, just like last year. And I would argue the Aggies flat dropped that opportunity. They had a chance to be Tennessee. They had a chance to be SMU, to somebody's point in the chat, a team that found their way in and was going to have to go on the road probably for one of those games, one of those early campus games. And they dropped it. They just flat dropped it. Injuries were part of it, but they also completely puked on their shoes when they had an opportunity.
I would just, I know what Elko has to do. Like in recruiting, they have to say things like, we're trying to win a national championship and we're singularly focused on winning a national champ. They have to do that because in recruiting, they're hearing Texas is saying that. So you don't want to position yourself as we're the school that's just trying to make the playoffs. But from a fundamental football standpoint, that's what they need to be doing. They need to be like, we've got to get good enough that we have not been in yet. We got to get in. And no offense, Texas has been in. They have a little bit more clout in this discussion in 2025 than we do. We have to take that step. The step can't be national championship or bust in 2025 or 2020. It's got to be
right. It can be that for step. Yeah, it could almost be that for Texas. If Sark wants to do it, I'll let him do it.
Right.
I'll let him do that.
Put that graphic back up.
Yeah.
Put the top 25 graphic back up. Let's do this. Who on this list rightfully gets to have the national championship as their fan base can realistically say, hey, it's wide open and we think we have as good a chance as anybody else at winning the championship. Who do you feel comfortable about including in that group? Because I don't feel that way about all the teams on that list in the order that they're in, but I know why Penn State would feel that way, even if I think it's laughable. I don't think they can get to the finish line, but I know why they do think they could.
Yeah, if we'll do it that way, then I'll be nice and I'll agree with what you just said because we've established it. Penn State is going to go to Columbus, and then Illinois gets to say, hey, we host the Buckeyes, so we're going to have a chance here. So my gut catch is, I guess you could make the argument it's everybody in that top 10 that could make the argument based on schedules, based on conferences or not conferences you're in Notre Dame's case. So, I mean, if we're going to extend, if I'm extending the niceness, I could go all the way out to probably 10 and say everybody could make me an argument.
I think there's 5
that I'd listen to.
Can you pick my 5?
You think there's 5? Okay, there's 5 that have a legit shot.
No, I think there are 5 not that have a legit shot. I think there are 5 that their program and their fan base, rightfully and justifiably so, can go to their conference media days in July and say, we're in this to win a conference championship and a national championship, and that's it. Like that's right. Okay. That's what we're in this for.
Okay, so Texas, Notre Dame, Ohio State. You said there's 5 of them?
Yes.
Georgia, and I'm trying to decide between these last 2 which way you're going to lean.
This is such a fun exercise because you were so fucking all over the place.
It's either Oregon or Florida for me on that last one. So I'll say Oregon.
Here's my list. Texas. I'm grandfathering Penn State in.
Okay.
I'm not ranking them ahead of any of the other teams I'm about to mention, but they return so much that if Penn State's ever going to be able to say it's national championship or bust, it would be with this team, even if I don't think they get there. Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia.
Okay.
That's it. Now, the thing is there a scenario where all of these other teams outside of Illinois, no, but Notre Dame, Clemson, Alabama, I mean, there's a world where those teams make the playoffs and could win a championship. But I can't rank Notre Dame that high. I don't know who their quarterback is.
Yeah, no, that part is absolutely fair. I look at a team like that, and because they're not in a conference, I haven't looked at their schedule closely either about everything. I know they play A&M early, but I haven't looked at everything they have to deal with. In fact,
we both have seen Clemson the last time they played.
Yes.
They're not the best. They're not third team in the country good.
They are not.
But they're third team in the country good, I think, from an upside standpoint. You know, if Andy Staples is like, look, this is how I think this is going to end at the end of the season. And I think at the end of the season, Clemson's going to be one of the best 3 teams in America. Fair enough. Because you can see the upside of Klubnik and the skill guys that they have. Like, you can see, we saw it. They were scary at their apex. They could be a really difficult team to match up with, and they have pieces that some of these other teams don't have. I mean, they have a clear quarterback advantage almost over everybody in the top 25. For instance, there's no doubt in my mind that if James Franklin could trade Drew Aller for Cade Klubnik today, just do it without even blinking.
Yeah.
Although, listen, James Franklin would probably blink a couple of times.
He probably would.
We got to get H-Dog Super Chat because it's been out there for a while.
Okay. Remind me to come back to something because I just saw something in Notre Dame's schedule you'll be interested in.
H-Dog says for $9.99, thank you, H-Dog. If you were a gambling man, do you feel confident at betting on a Texas Natty, or are you holding off for 2026? Love the show. Keep it up. OB for life. Thank you, H-Dog. I think 2026 is the build-up year. I don't think I don't know who in the hell I'm picking to win a national championship this year. I don't. Unlike Andy Staples, I don't think I could come up with a top 25 list right now. Not that I'd feel good about. Like, if I put together, I don't even know who I would put at number 1. And talking it out after having seen his list, I get why Texas makes as much sense as anybody else. Because
H-Dog, I'm assuming you're a Texas fan. I'd lean in. I don't know how much money you're thinking of betting, but who's got Arch Manning? You or the other guys? Who's got him?
Well, the thing is, they've got a schedule that's potentially exactly the kind of thing that prevents a team. Now, you know what Texas could be? Texas could be Ohio State from a year ago, where they're 10-2 entering this bad boy, but they're the team nobody wants to play.
Exactly. And then it turns into, because that's what it felt like last year. If it all came together for one team, nobody would touch them, and that was Ohio State. I think by the end of the year, it might be Texas.
But they got touched the last weekend of November.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But
you can get touched. And I actually think that's the cool thing about the new era that we're in. In the end, people are going to remember that Ohio State was just the best team. And that over the course of an entire playoff, they proved that, right? The season didn't end, and nobody was saying, you know what? Penn State was actually the best team in the country. Like, they just weren't doing that. In the end, Ohio State earned it. It is the best part of the playoff was when it was over with. We were discernibly able to say, hey, man, they beat everybody they lined up against. Like, they earned it.
Yeah, the best part of the playoff is it's real. That is, I mean, that we talked about it all season long, and that was it. That's why, the Chiefs are not 3-time champs, because there's a system to figure that out.
Well,
we all watch.
The system does work well enough now that we don't lose a lot of sleep that the 13th team gets left out. Like, I'm all for a few more, if I'm being completely honest. I like the games. I would take 8 games in the first weekend and 8 games in the second, or I guess it would be 4 games the first weekend and 4 games the second weekend. But yeah, give me some of that. I'm down. Give me some 9 through 16, and then we play 1 through 8. Whatever you want to do. Give me some more games. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But when it was over with, we didn't go, you know what? I think A&M was really the best team in the country, and
we definitely didn't do that.
But there wasn't anybody that we really felt that way about. The system does work well enough. It is a little bit like college basketball, where we will bicker over who we think should be the last team in, but what we're not arguing with any of those teams really is that they can win the championship.
Yeah, no, I agree. H-Dog, thank you for the super chat. And by the way, Oscar, there's a lot of things I'll say on this show where you get to throw an Aggie joke. I don't think this is one of them. I'm trying to give your quarterback some love. Giving your quarterback some love. I'm saying you should have confidence because of him. Y'all like to say in Sark you trust? Next couple of years, I would throw in Arch too. I think there's enough.
By the way, the Specs chat is just out of control today.
There's a lot going on.
This is no more super chats. There's lots of chats.
Yeah. A lot of general chats going on. We are glad y'all are there. Let's give a little love to Specs, since they bring us the chat each and every day. Whether it's wild, crazy super chats, no super chats, it's always brought to you by Specs. Here's Lisa.
As a Texas family-owned business, we know you don't mess with Texas. And you won't find more ways to raise a glass of Texas-made cheer than right here. So whatever you're planning, we're ready to get you ready. Because at Specs, the fun starts here.
Yes, indeed. If you guys want to throw us a super chat, it will go right to the top of the list. Real quick, Catch, just a note for you on this top 25. You ready?
Yes.
As I say this, look at number 2, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's first 2 games of the year are at Miami and A&M at home. We've already talked about the Aggie game. Just a note, they start at Miami. I did not realize that until I peeked at their schedule. Other games of interest, they go to Arkansas, which who knows? We'll see if that's interesting. Host USC. Boy, that's a reasonable schedule, man. If they can get by Miami and A&M, Notre Dame, if they've got a quarterback, if they've got a decent offense, Catch, they don't play Clemson. They don't play. There's no other. They don't play North Carolina if they're going to be any good. They're at Boston College. They're at Pitt.
Well, and look, maybe that's why Staples has them at number 2.
Yeah. He absolutely looked at that schedule, and he thinks, my guess would be that he thinks there are 18 slots better than Miami, and he didn't put the Aggies in his top 25. So Staples thinks, obviously, Notre Dame's getting off to a great start. It would be a hell of a statement for the Irish to do it, because I thought last year they were okay coming out of College Station. I really didn't look at them as, oh, man, they're going to go play for it all. Remember that game?
Oh, yeah.
It was, and I said I thought the winner would get overcooked and the loser would get ripped on a little too much, and that's kind of what happened. But by the end of the year, man, Notre Dame, they proved me wrong. They turned themselves into, obviously, a national title game team, and that's not what I saw. But Staples thinks they're that kind of team this year. So we'll see. But at Notre Dame at Miami, first week of the season is good. I like this from S-Roan. Yes, S-Roan. There you go. Nobody's ever said that before, but yeah, I'll let you do it. In Chad, we trust. Sure.
I say that all the time.
Sure. Do you? Do you have a
In Chad, I trust.
Is that what the back of that shirt has on it? In Chad, we trust?
No, It does not have that. I mean, it's a Muppet shirt, so it doesn't say that, but
yeah,
maybe it should.
That would be weird if you had that on the back of the.
If there was it'd be like the Muppet movie that came out with Jason Segel, right?
Yes.
The face is just in the middle of the Muppets.
Yeah, that's a good movie, by the way. I
enjoyed that. I randomly last night
loved it.
Swear to God, last night Heather and I were making the bed, and I have no frame of reference where this came from. But I just out of nowhere went, "Am I a man or am I a Muppet? Am I a Muppet?" Like, or I'm a Muppet of a man. Like I just out of nowhere started singing that.
That one does not usually come falling out of me. I will walk around the house going "mana mana" for no reason at all. I will do that. I will mana out of nowhere. And I never knew I needed.
No, I dig that movie.
I never knew I needed the Jason Segel, Amy Adams chemistry, but I really enjoyed it. That was a really good movie for all you Muppets freaks out there. That was good stuff. Let's also give
Texas, a Muppet of a man. Sorry.
Let's give Texas Card House some love. They sponsor the show every day. You see Texas Card House right up there? Yep. You see that. Plus, hijackpoker.com is out there for you. You got to be in the great state of Texas to play that great online poker. Hijackpoker.com. Click on the QR code and put that app on any device you want. And good luck. Best of luck. Go win some money. You can deposit all kinds of ways, and you can deposit and cash out at one of those 6 Texas Card House locations. Catch anything else that jumps out to you on this top 25 as I'll look for super chats and stuff. Anything else that really jumps out to you from Staples' list?
No, I think we hit it all.
Yeah.
And again, I think some people are like, why are we doing an Andy? Because I'll be honest, A, I love Andy Staples. I think he's one of my favorite college football writers. B, we thought we would have some fun with the on-3 relationship thing since we're going to be play cousins all of a sudden. And then 3, like nobody else that I've seen has come out with a post-spring top 25 list.
Yeah. Because think about it, Ketch. Y'all just think of this. How mad would Ketch have gotten if I surprised him with this graphic and said, hey, Ketch, check out this top 25? As soon as Ketch sees that logo in the upper right, he starts freaking out.
I wouldn't have freaked out.
Like, what the hell are you doing? What is it? What? Yeah.
Well, no, but I probably would have been like,
yeah, really?
Hey, like if we can, let's wait for Rivals to put out a post-spring top 25.
There you go. Now we don't have to do that.
By the way, Chad, I have these new glasses, and they're heavier than my old glasses.
Okay.
So they like sink down on my face.
All right.
So I'm constantly having to like reposition them back up. It's annoying.
Yeah, I feel like it makes you look smart, though. That's the way I hope. When I have to readjust, I try to, and also give a little flair to that part. I think that's key. When you're doing it, like really make people think, there's thought going into it. There you go. A little bit of that, too. That does not hurt at all. The women, the chicks don't.
Dude, they're going to see through that. They're going to be, wait a minute. Ketchum's not thinking. Who are we trying to kid?
Just remember, the single finger doesn't work. Nobody thinks this is sexy. That did not work. You got to give a little bit of that. It's like this. That's what you got to do. Sometimes I'll even do the weird mask one like this, where you're kind of covering your face.
I haven't learned. I've had glasses that just stay put.
Yeah.
But I've had to just, like I just did it then. Like I'm constantly, I feel like I may have to go get glasses that I am not comfortable with these sinking on my face because they're heavy. And maybe it's a nose thing. Maybe my nose is constructed in a way that doesn't have the support needed here that keeps the glasses here.
You may need to go get them adjusted. Maybe you can, adjust the pieces out here. You can adjust the nose stuff. Maybe they need to just.
No, you know what I need? I need that thing that Steve Martin created in The Jerk.
No, you don't want to. You do not need the OptiGrab. No, the OptiGrab is not going to help you, and plus, it will ruin your eyesight. Kids, go watch The Jerk. Find out what Ketch is talking about. I
know I just made a 50-year movie reference, but it's worth it.
The great Carl Reiner and the OptiGrab. Oh my God, that is fantastic. Well done. I have not watched Navin Johnson and The Jerk in a long, long time. I was born a poor black child. All right. It is House Divided on this Thursday. It's May already. And we're talking about this Andy Staples list, the top 25 preseason, post-spring. Texas at number 1 makes some sense, but obviously there are challenges there. Texas with big road games at 3 of the top 10 teams in this list. And we'll just show it to you again because the logos are fun to check out. Texas at number 5, at number 8, at number 10. And of course, the 10 comes before that Georgia game and could be, who knows, Catch, by the time that game occurs, that's in the rankings on that game. If Texas wins in Columbus and Florida gets to that game, that one should be interesting. I believe I believe Florida might play Miami before they play Texas. I'm going to double check that one, but I think that's right. Some of these teams have some great early, first 2 or 3 games kind of stuff. I think I'm right on that. Hang on, let me check you. Where are you, Gators? I'm right. They play at Miami 2 weeks before they play Texas. It's Miami bye week, then Texas. So you got Notre Dame and Florida in this top 10 catch that are both going to South Beach. Notre Dame does it in the first week, and then Florida is going to go to Miami before they host Texas. That's a lot. That's a lot going on early in the season. I love that.
Which is cool. It's nice to have games that matter because, I think the worst part about college football is when we get into a weekend where all the games are formalities.
Right.
Hey, where's game day going? It's like they're staying home this weekend, or hey, they're going to North Dakota State because what else are they going to do? So I dig the fact that you're getting me excited about
awesome.
The start of the season.
And who's Miami's quarterback going to be? Any ideas?
Oh, I should know, but I've forgotten.
How about Carson Beck? Isn't that the guy?
Right. Yeah.
Right? Carson Beck against Notre Dame to start the season. Carson Beck facing Florida, the former Georgia guy, facing the Gators in late September. Oh, it's good stuff. Good stuff. Barb's 10, $9.99. Random question. Will Super Chat stay in-house? I want the fruits of my crappy takes enjoyed by OB Live crew. Would dig some collaboration too, but not at the expense of the OB family. Catch, do you have any words of wisdom for Barb's 10 on that for Super Chats?
I think the fruit of your crappy takes are going to be just fine. You're good.
Yes. Barb's 10, as we've explained to you before, we do not get every single solitary cent of your Super Chats, but it all does help.
YouTube does take a cut.
It all helps. Yeah.
Those, and I can't even call the bastards at Google bastards.
No.
They got to get theirs too. And they do.
Yeah.
They do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Barb's, yes, there'll be collaboration moving forward. It won't be at the expense of anything. Rest easy. I promise. It'll be okay.
Yeah, and Big Cheddar throwing in some extra facts. I believe Florida plays at both Miami and LSU prior to Texas. Big Cheddar, you are not wrong. I missed that one. I didn't say that earlier. You're right. At Death Valley, at South Bend, consecutive weeks for the Gators. Then an off week, then they host Texas.
Good times.
Oh, man, if you're a Texas fan, you want every bit of that, and you want Florida to play like 9 overtime games every single week. As they're going through that stuff. All right. We do have buy or sell coming up. We got that one from Barb's 10.
Well, hold on. I think this is an interesting one. Okay.
Okay.
Come on. I clicked on it. Let me try it again.
From aggressively optimistic. I didn't click it.
Yeah.
It wasn't me.
Yeah. I like this from aggressively optimistic Texas fan. The Big Ten is interesting to me. Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn State are the favorites to make the CFP. But who's the fourth team? One of the things I'm working on this week that was a request was somebody wanted me to forecast the 12-team playoff. So who are the 4 SEC teams, the 4 Big Ten teams, the other 2 you know what I mean? They wanted me to work out how it will, not who the top 12 are, but who makes the playoffs. I think we can feel pretty certain that there's a good chance there will be 4 of both, unless they devour each other.
You're saying 4 SEC, 4 Big Ten? Yeah. Okay. Well, here's something, Catch. I peeked at Oregon's schedule because you were asking me if Ohio State played Oregon. They do not, but Penn State does at home. Penn State gets Oregon at home on September 27th.
That's an early game. Jeez.
It is. Oregon starts with Montana State, Oklahoma State at home, and then they're at Northwestern. So, that's a Big Ten game. I got to get that out of my brain. Oregon State, of course, they're still doing that rivalry. They play Indiana.
That's their third non-conference.
Yeah. They play Indiana. They don't play Ohio State, as I mentioned. They do not play Michigan. They're at Washington to finish. because that's where they moved that game. They play USC. So Oregon's got, there's nothing
Put the Staples top 25 back up, because Illinois at 9 on his list at least has to be in the conversation. I think it's interesting that if Illinois is at 9, look, Big Ten goes 4, 5, 6, 9.
Mm-hmm.
But then their next team, if we take aggressively optimistic off the list, you got Michigan at 17, you got Nebraska at 22, and you got Iowa at 25. I have no idea who the hell the fourth team is going to be.
Yeah. By the way, Catch, you want to know why Andy Staples put Illinois at 9? Here's their schedule.
I was about to say, I know it has to be schedule related. Give it to me.
Western Illinois at Duke, Western Michigan at Indiana, USC at Purdue, the Ohio State game we mentioned earlier, they host it, at Washington, Rutgers, Maryland, at Wisconsin, Northwestern. That's the schedule for Illinois. They don't play Michigan. They don't play Oregon. They do not play. They play Washington there. There's a couple things.
They just play one team on that list.
Yeah, there's one big time team there in Ohio State. There's some others that maybe, but boy, in non-conference, they're not doing a thing. Not doing a thing. Western Illinois and Western Michigan. Okay. All right.
I mean, Illinois, it feels like, unless they have catastrophic injuries, that schedule feels like the floor might be 9-3.
Yeah. And by the way, we learned last year, Catch, when you're one of those teams, if you have that feel to you and you have tough conference games, man, schedule some easy non-cons and see if you can build up your rep. Because that's what Ole Miss tried to do last year. And it almost worked.
Yeah, I think I think USC is a real interesting team. As aggressive as they've been in the portal, has Lincoln Riley just lost it?
Good question. Who's that quarterback? Who's he going with? Is it what's that kid's name?
It's such a, I think it's going to be Sane at Ohio State, but we don't really know.
Sane is Ohio State. I'm sorry. I mixed him up. Yeah.
So I don't know. I just keep looking at it. You start talking about the Big Ten, and USC is not on that list, are they? They weren't in the preseason top 25?
USC is not on that list.
God, you could almost put together a top 10 of the teams that didn't make the top 25, and it's an interesting top 10.
USC is not on this list, but Iowa, Iowa State, SMU, and Arizona State are all on this list.
Boy, talking about a fall from grace.
Yeesh. Yeah, that's bad.
Well, and look, real quick, put that back up from a Big 12 perspective. Where's Arizona State? Okay, so they're 16. Why is Arizona State ranked below Texas Tech?
Right. Tech gets the first that's the first Big 12, isn't it? Wow.
I mean, Arizona State returns its starting quarterback. I know they got to replace Scattaboo, but other than that, that's a team that returns a lot. They won the Big 12. Why I don't know. Andy, come get on the show. Help us out.
Yeah, who knows?
Did Micah Hudson coming back move up Tech to 11?
Is Micah officially back at Tech? Is that happening?
I just think, you know what this feels like to me? It does feel a little bit like this most recent March Madness, where when the tournament came out, there were a lot of people that were like, are all the number 1 seeds going to win? Maybe. Who's the best of the number 1 seeds? And there were people that thought Houston. There were people that thought Florida. There were people that thought Duke. Everybody had kind of some sentiment. There were people that thought Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, Florida wins the championship. And I think there's a part of us, I don't remember going in thinking Florida's very Ohio State-ish. They hit the tournament. There was a lot of, Florida plays as well as they can. They're better than everybody else. And in the end, I guess that's what ended up happening. But there were times in the tournament where it was like, well, they're not the best team. But then they would come back and win a game and you go, oh, maybe they're the best team, but they're definitely beatable. Like they can be had. And I think you feel that way about all of the number one seeds. Like, man, any of them can win, but you could pick apart Houston in a way where it was like, could they lose? And you're like, they could. They don't lose a lot of close games, but they can be beaten. And I kind of look at most of the teams in that top 8, and I think I can see all of them being good enough to win. I can see all of them being flawed enough to lose in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of it. Like, just like last year, I think this system now allows for being imperfect. You don't have to be perfect anymore. And, fans used to get pissed, Catch, when it wasn't like 2 undefeated teams in the championship game, when there was just 2 teams.
Yeah.
Or if it was in the 4. If somebody had a loss, the blemish on their schedule, it's horrible, it's terrible. But we all knew going into those playoffs, hey, if Ohio State gets clicking, and then when they got out there against Tennessee, everybody realized, oh, good Lord, here we go. And that's the beauty of it. That's what playoffs are all about. You mentioned the basketball tournament, because you got to go play the games. And eventually Houston had one of those games where they pull off an incredible comeback, and then they had one of those games where it went the other way, and they were out.
Let's read this.
Everything does not run through Lubbock. That is true. That is absolutely true.
No, I was putting this up.
My bad. Good. So sorry. My bad. Yes.
Quit messing with things.
Yes. The Raider rash does run through Lubbock.
You ever had Raider rash? It's itchy. It's
not good. That is not a good thing. Chris Bennett letting us know it is official with Micah Hudson. Best of luck to that young man. That's a well-traveled young man. Hope he gets it all figured out. That is apparently done now. All right, we're going to get to buy or sell here.
I think it's 2-1, 3-1 that he ends up back in the portal.
Yeah, probably.
Even money at this point.
He and Jontay Cook are going to race around the portal for the next. Still
don't know what Jontay's going to do.
Still don't, right? There's still no.
You know what I keep hearing with Jontay?
What's that?
That he keeps going on these visits and having bad visits.
Man,
like I heard he went to Arizona State and the visit just didn't go well. And I don't know how much they're still in it. I think that kid's got to get out of his way, man.
Yeah, his attitude is following him in a bad way, and that's kind of been the worst stories of him. It's that attitude gets in the way of all the football stuff, and he's got to figure out a way to lead with something else. We'll do buyers.
Syracuse or Arkansas when it's all said and done. Like I think he's on his 4th visit, but I don't know what schools that he's visited are still actively after him. He's got to grow the hell up.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. We're going to buy or sell here in just a second. Real quick, let's see if I can make y'all hungry with some Hayes City Store. Check out these picks, Catch. For the folks that love shrimp, Travis sent me these. Some grilled shrimp. How about some shrimp and grits? They've got that and much, much more at Hayes City Store, FM 150 in Driftwood. I'll put you a QR code up there if you want to go ahead and click on that while you're staring at this incredible food. And I'm telling you, it is awesome. I have never had anything at Hayes City Store that I was not thrilled with. Can't wait to get back out there again. From the appetizers all the way through the desserts, all the drink options that are out there. I've told you, if you're into margaritas, you love your frozen marg. How about the margarita flights? Frozen margarita flights. They've got those for you if you want to get out there, have a great time in the ice house, under the shade trees, indoor seating. They've got it all. And just follow them at Hayes City Store TX on your social media, and they'll let you know what's going on out there all the time. Hayes City Store. Now I am properly hungry. Catch, you ready to buy or sell today?
Well, not first. I got something first.
Not
the
first.
Picture of the shrimp and grits.
Yes.
Looks phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I want to go to a store and order shrimp and grits. And then if it takes longer than 12 minutes for the food to come out, I want to hit them with the Joe Pesci. How long does it take your grits to cook?
Are you suggesting that boiling water soaks into a grit slower on your stove?
That's exactly what I want to do. I want to go order shrimp and grits. And my expectations would be, okay, well, I learned in my cousin Vinny that the grits come out in 10. So if it's 20 minutes after I've ordered and the food hasn't come out, are you telling me that your grits Cooks. Yes, I want to lean into the grits.
There it is. There they are. The shrimp and grits. My wife is a big fan of
It's
grits.
the one meal that you should be able to order and have expectations for.
There you go. There it is. You can have all kinds of expectations at Hayes City Store. I promise you, it's going to be great. It is
Because if you
going
order a steak
to be great.
or a baked potato, those take time. You don't know how long it's going to take for those to be prepared. But they could be starting the grits from scratch. And we know, because of my cousin Vinny,
Right.
shouldn't take more than 10 minutes.
No self-respecting Southerner uses instant grits. I take pride in my grits.
Yes.
And then they show the juror nodding. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Nodding in approval. Yes, we do take pride in our grits.
I love it. I love that. All right, Catch, you want to go first or second today?
I'll go second today.
All right, this is kind of the Family Feud edition because I gave him to the folks yesterday at the end of the show because, I was panicking. But sometimes I do like to give them to the people as well. But I'm going to give them to you today. Here we go. Buy or sell. Number one, Quinn will make the roster in Miami in 2025.
I'll go buy.
Yep.
I think, some teams only take 2 in this newfangled NFL. And some teams take 3. I think Miami will be a team because of Tua that has to carry 3.
Gotta be, right?
It has to be, right?
Jeez, I'm telling you what. And by the way, if we get to a day where it's Tua as the starter and Quinn's the backup and they only have 2 on the roster, whew, you talk about Dolphin fans praying every week. Man.
That feels like taking an unnecessary risk.
Whew. Make sure you have a kicker or punter that can chunk a ball just to make sure. Just to make sure. All right, Catch. How about this one from the NIL world? Buy or sell number 2. This 35 to 40 million amount for NIL in college football is just for this season after the suit is settled. The number will go down in 2026.
I'm going to give this a buy and a sell.
Okay.
Buy. My sources say buy.
Okay.
My brain is listening to the sources and isn't so sure.
I think I'm in the same boat you are.
Because, Chad, what they're saying is that it sounds like, we'll all be constrained. The market is going to constrain itself. There will be a supervising organization that audits all NIL deals and that we're not going to see inflated numbers anymore. And I just don't understand the concept of who gets to decide what an inflated number is, because 2 years ago, Dominic Williams told me the defensive tackles were worth $500,000.
Yeah.
So I don't know how a defensive tackle next year that's just pretty good doesn't get. I don't know who impulsively doesn't give that guy money.
Right now, Catch, for me, when they talk about guardrails, it's like if a magician tells me there are handcuffs involved. Well, no, there's handcuffs. And it's like, dude, we know what kind of handcuffs you're dealing with. Come on. It's like, show me how you get out of the handcuffs. Whoop, and he hands them to you. Like, that's it. That's what I feel like it is.
So I'll tell you what I'm being told, and I'll have more on orangebloods.com tonight in the war room. Real specifics about
Excellent.
the guardrails that are supposed to be in place. But I just find myself having more questions that I think there are answers for right now. And I don't think this time last year, if I'd said, hey, next year the number will be $35-40 million, I don't think anybody would have said, yep, that's where we're headed in less than 12 months. I think they would have said, yeah, in the next 3 to 5 years, that may be where we be. We'll see. I have doubts.
Yeah. All right. And remember, sign up for orangebloods.com with that QR code down there. Easiest way to get signed up right now. Catch, buy or sell number 3. If UT is going to have a rookie of the year in the NFL, your money is on Golden.
Oh, buy. Yeah. In
Not
fact,
really else there.
Number 2 is probably Jaden Blue.
Yeah, you may be right.
I mean, I don't think Jaden Blue's going to rush for 1,000 yards in Dallas, but I think it's going to be used a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Catch, buy or sell in the NBA. You'll take Oklahoma City or Cleveland to win it all over the field.
So I'll take the field.
Okay. The numbers say you should. The last time both 1 seeds swept like this in the first round. Neither of them even made the finals. Kind of a crazy little stat.
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think of those teams as stars. And when we get to the NBA finals, the stars, if either of those teams ends up in a 7-game series with Boston,
right.
At the end of the day, I still will take Jason Tatum over.
Yeah.
And it's like in the final, and we know those games will come down to the final 2 minutes. And it's
like, that's one of my. Yeah, it's a great thing about this. We got these young cats like Mitchell and SGA, and even extended to Edwards, who just took LeBron and that crew out. These young guys trying to prove that they can.
But I get Edwards on my field.
You get Edwards, right? Exactly.
I get Denver. I get some teams where it's like, I don't know, man. In a 7-game series, those are tough outs.
Yeah, you get Steph and Jimmy Butler. Yeah,
exactly. I'll take the field, but Oklahoma City's and Cleveland are really good. Really good.
Catch, I presented this to the people yesterday. I was surprised at their reaction. I'm going to see what you do with it. Buy or sell number 5. Gal Gadot was 40 yesterday. 40 years old yesterday. Prime on prime. Gal Gadot, hotter than Halle Berry.
So.
Okay. So. See, that's where I figured the chat was going. It would be an instant sell. How dare you, Chad? I had more people react with that's a really good one, and go with Gal. A little more than I thought.
I get it.
Yeah.
She's Wonder Woman. I would just say this. If they'd done a Wonder Woman movie in 2005 and they'd put Halle Berry as Wonder Woman,
right?
Nobody would have been like, no, you've miscast Wonder Woman. We'd have all been like, she's pretty Wonder Woman. So I kind of think of them both as perfect 10s in their prime. And, we're arguing Victoria's Secret supermodels here. It's like, I'll take that Victoria's Secret supermodel over another. It's not a slam on either.
Yeah, it's a hell of a battle. Hell, I almost went with Bar Raffaelli, but I thought that would be a little unfair to Gal. All right, happy birthday to Gal yesterday. All right, Catch, what do you got?
Buy or sell number 1. I meant to ask this question earlier, and it just didn't come up. Remember I said, Chad, I want to ask you a question. So buy or sell number 1, you're comfortable as much as I guess could be expected at Texas as a preseason number 1 in 2025.
Yeah, buy. With everything that Sark has done, with the talent that we know is there, we've seen the development, and most importantly, that dude's taking the snaps. I think Arch Manning's going to be great. And I trust what he'll be with that offense more than I can, other than maybe Klubnik, right? Klubnik with Clemson, I kind of know what that's going to be. But to your point, we saw what that looked like at the end of the year. Yeah, I got no problem with Texas being 1. I think it makes sense.
You're going to love my second question.
Okay.
Because you just tap danced all over it and didn't know it.
All right.
Buy or sell number 2. If you were Steve Sarkisian and you were offered to trade this season of Arch Manning for 2025 version of Cade Klubnik, you would make that trade and take the older, more experienced player.
Oh, sell. Roll your dice. Don't walk away from the table now. You put a plan in place. You, Quinn, and Arch.
So eliminate the Sark. If you were starting a program from scratch and you had your pick of.
I want the Arch Manning.
Okay.
Thing.
That's what I'm asking. Ultimately.
Yep. I want the Arch Manning thing, but specifically for Sark, with everything that's been built up to this point, that's your guy. And I think your fans are they're going to grab onto him like we may have never seen them grab onto any quarterback since Vince, and anybody since Vince or Ricky. I would not throw that away for Cade or anybody. And I'm not dogging Cade for that. It's just, this is a special deal. I wouldn't give it away.
Buy or sell number 3, Andy Staples has Clemson ranked 3rd. Right now, you buy Clemson as a quarterfinal top 8 type of team, but not a semifinal top 4 type of team.
Yeah, you got that right. As you were talking, I thought they don't feel like a 3. Yeah, it's about right. A quarters kind of team. Maybe a win, but not any further than that. Right now, that's what they are. Dabo and Cade and the crew are going to have to prove it different But as we've kind of laid out, I don't know that their schedule is going to be a complete monster, which is another reason why Staples has them up there. But I'm buying quarterfinals.
I apologize in advance for question number 4.
All right.
And this is the second question that I've invented in my head seconds before asking it that I'm really kind of proud of, even though I'm apologizing for it in advance.
Okay.
Buy or sell number 4. In the Andy Staples preseason top 25, Texas Tech is listed at number 11.
Mm-hmm.
Buy or sell, Texas Tech is closer to being a playoff program in general than Texas A&M.
Oh, yeah, I could tell the pride is in your soul as you did that one. That was.
Did you appreciate the slight dramatic pause?
Well done. The dramatic pause, the setup, and everything there. Ultimately, I think that's a buy catch. There's a lot of ingredients to it, but one of the main ones is in this kind of playoff system, in the conference they're in, they can see the door more clearly. They know where the door is, and getting to the door does not require them to go through near as much as what the Aggies have to go through to get to the door. So, yeah, that's a buy.
It's a little bit like you buy Texas Tech as a top 11, top 12 team, and you're like, oh, I don't know about all that. It's like, could you see them winning the Big 12? And you're like, well, no, like that I can see. And then it's like, okay, well.
Yeah, because think about it. We just watched SMU go to the playoff. You can make an argument right now. SMU is more of a playoff team than Tech or A&M.
Yeah. I mean, they are. They've been to the playoff.
They did it, right? We just saw them do it, and obviously the path is different. But what would SMU do in the SEC? That's not the discussion. To your discussion, it's a buy.
Kind of unreal. Like,
it is.
In Texas Tech is a big winner in the Texas and Oklahoma departure. I don't think we thought that when it first happened.
Yeah.
But I think as time's going by and we've seen Texas Tech kind of solidify its financial position, I wonder if they're not a real sneaky, they make the playoffs 3 or 4 times in the next 10 years.
Yeah,
which
maybe
would be the climax and the apex of the history of their program.
That might get Brett Yormark a statue in Lubbock is what that might do.
Well, what did it take? And he took for Texas and Oklahoma to get the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
And then we can deal with everything else.
Right. Yeah. Who's casting shadows on Lubbock right now? Not near as many as they were.
Arizona State.
Right. Maybe.
I guess. All right. And finally, buy or sell number 5. Forget about the hotter than of Halle Berry and Gal Gadot.
Yes.
Because this is really about personal taste.
Okay.
If you could have a one-night stand hall pass with either woman, you're picking Halle Berry.
This is tonight, or this is a prime on prime? How are we doing this?
I'll let you frame it however you want to. I'm basically asking the question of kind of, I guess, it would have to be prime on prime. Prime on prime, any version of yourself gets to have a one-night stand with any version of either of those women, but you're picking Halle Berry.
Buy. For a few reasons, but not the least of which is checking a box. Buy.
Can I tell you one of my big reasons for why I would go Halle Berry?
Sure.
You hear a lot of men say, Halle Berry's crazy. Have you seen the relationships? She's a woman.
Right.
She's a woman. Okay? And we're men. And I'm sure if I lived with Halle Berry for like 10 years, we would both have some elements of each other that might grate on the other.
Right.
But
this wasn't long-term, though.
I have to believe that for one night, Halle Berry would be an amazing hang. Like, if you're getting a night with Halle Berry, in addition to the awesome sex, which I got to get going here in a second, Chad, just looked at the clock. But
yes, you do. Anthony wants boomerang Halle Berry. It's a good Halle Berry, as we've discussed.
I just have a feeling like the whole night's going to be dope. That when it's over with, you'd be like, well, the sex was great, but I hated hanging out. I think Halle Berry for a night, awesome hang. And I don't know. Gal is a little more, I think, instinctively frigid. Like, I think if we went out, Halle Berry in her prime, and we were like, Halle, screw it, YOLO. Let's do some X together and roll around in some flour and get naked. I think Halle Berry would be down.
I like how much you've thought of that one. Thank
I've
you all for
made that up.
liking.
I promise I have not.
That's well done. Thank
That's
you
what
for
it sounds like when I just say shit that comes into my brain, stream of conscious.
Thank you all for liking, subscribing, and getting your notifications. Jeff Ketchum's got to go pick his kids up.
I do.
So we're going to close it up here. Football with Friends at 6, Old Fashioned tomorrow morning at 9. We'll be back tomorrow at noon. This is House Divided. We are Orange Bloods Live. Y'all take